Yoshi-san.
はい。
はじめまし
はじめ
て。
まして。
So we're gonna try to do this interview maybe like half Japanese, half English. I'm going to be using my broken Japanese and getting the help of Yoshi to translate or correct my words. He doesn't really need that because his English is very, very good. And we're going to talk a little bit about work we do, how things differ in Japan, how mental health is over here, relationships, things related to self-improvement. As you guys know, my content is we're here in the heart of Harajuku, and we're just going to have some fun with it. So, まず、
はい。
何歳ですか
26歳です。
26。OK。ヨシさんは、コールさんの、より、より、young。
若い。
若い。OK。より若いです。
コールさん何歳？コールさん何歳ですか
？27です。
ああ、まあ、1歳だけ？
はい、1歳だけ。
1歳だけ先輩です。
Is that what you would say?
You know 先輩?
Oh, of course I do.
Yeah, I mean like it's a bit of a joke, but like if we are in school in same high school, because you're 1 year older, assuming that you're 1 grade higher than me, so you're my senpai.
Okay. Okay.
I mean it's senpai is like we say all the time to kind of show the hierarchy or something. It's not just about, you know, like anime fantasized world thing, you know.
Yeah. I knew it was common in Japanese culture. I just didn't know what context or all the context it fit in. 仕事には何をしているのか。
仕事は映像関係の仕事をしています。主にカメラマンとか照明、ライティングとかをやっています。照明は lighting, it's like lighting, and 映像 is like filmmaking, videography in general. 映像関係 is like related to, so like it's basically like I work in the film industry, film related stuff, video related stuff.
仕事が好きですか？
仕事は好きです。
何かのshit man. 何か他の仕事したいんですか？
したい仕事？僕が他にまあ今は一番好きなのは仕事の中で仕事をするなら今やってる映像が好きだけど、もし他の仕事何かするとしたらでもデジタルノーマッドとかその場所を選ばない仕事とかはいいと思います。パソコンを持って日本でもできる、旅行でタイに行っても仕事できるとかはまあやったことはないけど憧れます。
十分わかりました。
分かった。
I think so. 日本では仕事の文化はどうですか？
まあ、日本全体で見ると、まああんまり仕事の文化は良くないと思いますね。良くない。
良くない。Yeah, can you explain a little bit about typical Japanese salaryman?
I've never experienced salaryman. I went freelancing right after college, university. So it's something that I've heard of, or like I didn't experience it myself, but I think salaryman's life starts with waking up early in the morning, getting ready for work, and then they go to work and work, I don't know, maybe 10 hours, 12 hours, maybe 10 hours, 8 to 10 hours a day, depending on if they do overwork or not. But in general, many people do overwork, so they work more than what's written on the contract probably. And like a stereotypical salaryman after work is they go to drink with their colleagues or they go drinking with their boss and then they leave to work like a machine.
Why do you think there's not any sort of active effort to reform this type of working in Japan?
Maybe it's because people just accept it and we don't really have activistic mindset or like provocative mindset to change something. We are at the end we are stressful. I mean, I think everyone is really stressful here in Japan, but they are comfortable with the culture that has come for a long time because that's what they are supposed to do, and they're just doing what people in the past did. Maybe it's something their parents did, so they just think it's just normal thing and they don't really doubt if there is any issues in that. I mean, people do know the issue, like everyone talks about, for example, in the film industry, we have very long hours for commercials, and people always say, oh, like we have long hours, we don't have time to sleep, but they just say it's just what it is, it's just the industry, and then nobody really tried to strike, like give it like make a strike or just any kind of action into it.
日本では上達はprogress 上達はless common らしいです。
上達はインディビジュアルの上達、人それぞれの skills。
はい、like it seems like compared to America, at least, traditions that have been upheld for thousands of years, hundreds of years, are to not be broken here. And they're very important.
Yeah. I mean, I would say people are really traditional and they don't really try to change the way it is, the culture that it is. And then people believe it's... Maybe some people think it's important to keep it, but what I think more, especially for young people, is we probably don't know what's it like in the different countries. Like we just only know Japanese way.
Right.
We briefly know like the ways of different countries, but we don't really study, we don't really receive informations. So we just stick to what we have and don't really try to change it maybe. But of course, maybe like some older generation, as you say, really idolize the Japanese traditions and then they don't want to break it.
How would you say perception? 日本語で
Perception. I don't know like.
Oh no.
What's
Perception is like how one perceives something. How one sees something.
Is it like a way of thinking, similar to way of thinking, or a bit different?
Yes.
Like 考え方?
考え方. Yes, that's how would I put this sentence? アメリカ人について日本人の考え方は何ですか？
アメリカ人をどう思ってるかみたいな。その多くの日本人が like is it my opinions or like general Japanese opinion, general Japanese opinions. アメリカ人
Let's do both. どっちでも
OK アメリカ人それともアメリカ国についてどっちですか？アメリカ人、
はい、
アメリカ人はまあ声が大きい
声が大きいLoud voices?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes. I've noticed that everyone's very quiet here compared to America.
Yeah, you're quite calm. Yeah. 他はまあでもあとはまあ信念が強いとかその多分なんだろう自分に自信を持っている人が多いと思うかな。その confidence maybe あと信念の強さってなんて言えばいいんだろう。信念の強さ like a strong belief that they have within themselves とかでもあんまりアメリカ人に会ったことないからそこまでわかんないけど、まあ、であとはそのメディアとかでテレビとかで見るアメリカ人はやっぱり体が大きい人が多いとか、あとはまあ食生活がファストフードが多そう、砂糖をいっぱい食べてそう、
砂糖で
あとまあ性格は明るい人が多いみたいな、まあ、もちろん全員がそうではないと思うけどステレオタイプのアメリカ人って聞くとやっぱり声が大きくて元気で明るい性格で
So cheerful personality?
Yeah, like bright, extroverted. I mean, I know it's not everyone, but just as stereotypes, you know, when I see American people on television, they usually talk a lot. They speak with the loud voices, confidence they talk like they know everything, you know. Compared to Japanese people, we kind of doubt many things. Like we talk without much confidence.
Yes.
We always say, I think.
Yeah.
We don't really say, I believe, or it is certain. We say, everything is I think. We don't want to take no responsibilities.
Right. Why do you think Japanese people don't have that same sort of confidence? Just part of the culture?
Yeah, it is a part of the cultures in school. Well, I mean, like we learn a lot about, I think, how to fit in a collectivistic society, how to read other people's faces, how to read what people are thinking and kind of fit in rather than stick out and then do something else. So like ideas are kind of generalized, like everyone kind of have a similar ideas. Like we try to believe something similar within the community to fit in the community. So we don't really think in our head so much. Maybe we are only were to believe what we are told to believe. Maybe that's one aspect. And also we kind of have a suppression from the society for just many things. Not really a suppression, but I believe Japan is somewhat shame-based society. If you do something embarrassing, if you make mistakes, or if you like just don't fit in, then you will kind of get not kicked out, but you know, like you can't really fit in the society well. So people kind of afraid to speak so much to the point that we forgot to think in our own beliefs.
It's like saying I think and then looking around for validation.
Yeah. I think we are all looking for validations, and then that kind of like cuts off our confidence.
Yeah, I've noticed a ton how collectivist Japan is compared to America.
Like
アメリカは反対です。Very, very individualistic in America, and everybody has different beliefs to the point where it's very like there's a lot of division in America right now between individuals because we all think differently. We all have different opinions and beliefs about things, and we're all confident about our own beliefs. And sometimes the way we're closed-minded is in our own individualistic beliefs rather than, I mean, the Japanese people, they seem to be closed-minded about anything that the general population believes or feels. It's funny, like no, everybody wears the same color clothing here too. I've noticed is white, black, blue, gray. That's the whole color scheme here. Whereas in America, I mean, everyone's a lot. The colors within outfits are a lot more.
We just go safe ways. We just go safe ways, you know.
Go safe ways?
Like safe ways. Like
safe
a clothing,
ways, yes.
For example.
Yeah.
White and black, it just goes well with anything.
Right. Playing it...
we don't take risks.
Right.
It just hits me right now. There was an occasion where I kind of like had a conversation with a group of American people around me. And I feel like you need to really try to speak out, otherwise nobody will listen to you until the end of the story. Like maybe in Japan, the person A speaks and then the B waits and then replies. In America, like I don't have so many experience with talking to American people, maybe just some specific type, but I was trying to talk about some stories, and then American people's reply was like, "Oh dude, I know exactly what you're talking about," and then they just start talking about their stories and their stories rather than like asking many questions from one story. Maybe.
No, that makes sense.
You know, I studied abroad in Europe for 2 years, and when I came back to Japan from Europe after 2 years of staying in Europe, I was feeling so confident, because in Europe you have to promote yourself to get heard. So I kind of learned how to present myself, how to sell myself in situations of any kind of situations. But and then when I came back to Japan, I was feeling confidence. I felt like, oh, I know who I am. I know what I'm good at. Now it's been almost 6-7 something years since my time in Europe. Now, like, I kind of adapted again into Japanese way of being polite, not to be rude and then I do feel I'm less confident on myself than before.
日本について嫌いは何ですか？
日本の嫌いなところ、でもまあ今話してたようなこととかは 嫌いかな。その仕事の文化 working culture とか、あとは lack of confidence in people like まあ人をちょっと気にしすぎる like people care too much about each other of small things とか、まあ大きい声で話してるとうるさいとかそう思ったりとかね、電車の中では静かにしないととか、まあ僕はそんなにうるさくないけど、なんだろう、いらないことに気を使ってストレスを増やしてる、細かいことをなんか常に気を使わなくてはいけないようなことを感じることがあります。
Understood some of that. Regarding stress, we talked a bit about mental health, and you can explain how you stumbled upon my videos, because that's related to the topic of mental health.
Okay. So I think I found your video about a bit more than 1 year ago. I had a breakup with my girlfriend of 3 years, and we lived together for 2 years. But basically, we were together in different city for first 1 year, and then we moved together into different city, the new city where I live right now, and it was during the COVID time. So after moving into a new place, I didn't really make new friends around the area. I was kind of relying everything on my ex-girlfriend probably. And when we broke up, I felt like I was left with nothing in my life in a way. Like I don't know what to do. I don't know anybody around here. I don't know who to talk to. And then I was kind of looking for some solutions or like ways for me to become better. And I found your video. It was about like how to deal with the breakup or something like that. And then I was listening to it. I was watching it, but I kind of listen to it as more like a podcast, you know. I try to go for a walk, and I listen to your advice or what I can do in that kind of situations, what I can implement it. And yeah, you're giving me a therapy session.
I'm glad.
It helped
Yes.
a lot.
よかった。Yes. Seeing the in real life impact, like I said, is awesome. How taboo is it to talk about mental health here in Japan?
First of all, you for sure don't want to talk about it with your colleagues or workplace, and even with your friends, it's not really common to talk about mental health because some people still have a perception having a mental health is like something wrong is going on with you, with your brain, or those kind of way of thinking. So it takes a lot of courage to talk about mental health because the person you are talking to need to know a little bit or has a little bit of sympathy about mental health. Otherwise, like you're afraid to talk about mental health because you feel like you'll be judged based on that. And then even like in a workplace, maybe talking about mental health to your colleagues or to your boss could be treated as an advantage for them to do or just, you know, like you might have some trouble with your workplace.
Yeah, I mean, you guys don't even have a word for mental health. It's just mental health. Yeah. Besides, like, them just thinking something is wrong with you, if you did open up about your mental health, like, what is the advice you would get from a Japanese person?
Fortunately, for my friends or like people that I know, they do have understandings about mental health. So we maybe not as often as Western people or people in America, but sometimes me and my friends talk about mental health, and then we actually kind of like give each other tips that we received from searching on the internet, like, you know, like so for me personally, me and my friends, we talk about like getting the sunlight or being active, doing some exercises, all these kind of things. But I remember for example, when I was in elementary school, middle school, I had some trouble with like sleeping. I've always fell asleep during the time of the class. And I remember my school teacher suggested in a child parents meeting, like it was me, my mom, and then my teacher said like, okay, maybe like Yoshi should go to some clinic to do some checkups. And I remember my mom didn't want to accept that maybe something wrong with my mental health or those kind of things. And she said like, no, teacher, like he's just young, or like he just doesn't know like how to be strong. So my mom now understands about mental health a lot more, and she doesn't give me that kind of advice. But if my mom still thinks in the same way as she did before, she'll probably say like, you just need to heads up and keep going. That's
a lot of older parents' advice.
Yes.
Even in America. Yeah.
We often say kimochi da kimochi. Kimochi is like a mentality, the way you think, the way you hold up, like the way you hold up your feelings. Just hold it and keep going, like kimochi. Yeah.
That's funny.
Just believe in yourself.
It's a typical like masculinity advice online too, is to just suck it up.
Yeah, suck it up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there's a word for cheating in Japan, right?
Cheating?
Yes.
Cheating in a relationship. Uwaki? Furin?
Waki, I think it is. Waki. I've heard it online. It seems waki wa とても人気今特に若者 So can you talk a bit about why you think cheating culture is such a popular thing right now? It's like very common amongst young people, or if it isn't, I've heard that online. It could just not be, and I could just be wrong based on what I've seen. And why you think Japan's birth rate is declining so rapidly.
Okay, so first of all, about cheating culture, I'm sure maybe you saw some street interviews on TikTok or things like that, like young people's. But well, I must say, I think cheating in general is indeed more common here in Japan than in other countries. But to be honest, I believe those people that they interview, they are specific type of people who always go
out
to drink and just experience more in their lives. So like I don't personally really know some of my friends or people that I know that actually cheated, or maybe they just never got caught. So I don't know the actual number of how many people cheated here in Japan, but I do hear a lot of stories of salaryman or people who are married and have a life and kids and who work like a hell. They go to like a soap land, or we call it fuzoku place. It's basically like a legal prostitution type of place, sex workers place. Then I do know some people in Japan don't count it as a cheating.
Oh wow.
Yeah. First reason is probably because we don't really get divorced here in Japan. Even the relationship is not going so well, we kind of stick to it, especially after the marriage. Like my parents, for example, like my mom and my dad, like they never really talk anymore, but they kind of still stay together. They don't divorce.
Right.
So maybe that's the reason why, like, they don't love each other, but and they are still in marriage, but they probably seek for a new relationship or just something else.
Yeah.
And about the birth rate, I don't know. Maybe it's not as easier as before to raise a child here in Japan, especially the financial insecurities.
Right. Similar to America.
Okay. Like maybe we don't have, I don't know, I never really actually considered having kids yet. So I don't know what kind of support am I actually able to get once I have a kid, but I think it costs a lot of money, and then people are not really up for it. Yep. Like people are just so busy just make ends meet for their own selves. So like they don't really have a space to think about kids. And
yeah, same thing in America. A lot of people are weighing the benefits and the costs, if it's really worth it. And people are maturing, I think, less quickly, like moving out less quickly, getting an education less quickly, like graduating less quickly. And then on top of all that, everything's way more expensive in America as well. So last question is, how would I say misconception?
Misconception, 間違った認識
間違った認識 OK 間違った認識アメリカ人から日本人について最大間違っ た認識は何ですか？
アメリカ人から見た日本人。
Yeah, so what are the biggest misconceptions about Japan and Japanese people that you hear from Americans? Like right now, I'll tell you that coming to Japan and this whole idea of Japan being a fantasy land is very popular in America.
Yeah.
What's the biggest misconceptions about that?
We don't really live in a city of cyberpunk. It's not
True.
It's probably not as spectacular as in anime.
It is very, very beautiful, I will say.
It's I think it's quite different from other countries, but it's not as exactly as in anime.
Like, would you recommend Americans move here?
Move? Probably no.
Why not?
I think Japan is a really nice country to come and visit for sightseeing. For sure, we do have a lot to offer for people from different cultures because it's completely different from, for example, I've lived in Europe for a few years, but it's such a different culture. And it's quite safe. So it's a nice place to be, for sure, but for living, it's a bit stressful society, and then there are so many rules that you have to follow, so many things you have to keep in your mind, and you can't really be like completely yourself and be accepted in the society. And it's really hard, even for me as a Japanese local, to sometimes fit in the society. So I wonder how difficult it will be for people from different cultures, people from America, to actually move into Japan and find absolute peace here. I mean, it is still possible. I believe there are some American people who are fit to live in Japan. Like maybe there are people who find Japan more comfortable to live than their own country, which is United States or somewhere else. But mostly, I must say it will be a difficult challenge to actually move into Japan from different countries. But I'm not saying like don't try it. Like if you think that's something for you, then go for it, and you may have a really good life here in Japan. Maybe one thing is try to seek for companies like international companies to work in Japan. They usually offer a better working hours than working in the traditional Japanese companies, for sure. And working culture is one big thing as to why people struggle to live here in Japan.
It seems that way. Yoshi さん、
はい。
僕と喋ってくれてありがとうございます。
ありがとうございました。楽しかったです。
楽しみです。
楽しみです。
楽しみでした。
楽しかった。
楽しかった。